In our continuing series on drowning prevention, this week we feature Jayme Craig from Kids Can Swim in Ottawa. Jayme is the VP of Education and Training, and we're going to speak with her to get some insight into the school, as well as some useful water safety behavior tips and things to pay attention to when we're out and about this summer. Welcome, Jayme. All right. Good morning, Jayme. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. So thank you for joining us today and taking some time to communicate and share with us a little bit about the school and impart some wisdom and expertise in the area of drowning prevention and water safety. So I know like Ottawa is surrounded by open water. There are lakes everywhere and pools everywhere and so on and so forth. And we're getting to some of the advice you would have for the general public. But first, let's start with you. So tell me a little bit about your background. Tell me a little bit about the school. I know that you guys, like a big tagline you guys use often is that you are science-based. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So to start off, I've been working in aquatics and training in aquatics for about 10 years now. I started off as most life-saving people do in their Bronze Cross and Bronze Med. Went through to be a lifeguard, and I've been teaching for a few years now, about 6 years. I oversee all the education and training, and so it's been super fun to help grow this program. So the science base for us, we did a lot of research on lots of human behavior, child development, biomechanics, things like that. And so three really big things for us are learning through play, repetition, and consistency. So one of the most fascinating things to me is learning through play. It's so interesting to learn that children really develop, a lot of who they are through exploring in their environments. And learning through play allows children to develop their critical thinking skills, develop their problem-solving skills, and it really helps their overall development. I just thought that was so fascinating when researching and learning about the program. And the repetition and consistency is a big part for their learning. Creating a routine around swimming lessons allows children to know what to expect, and then they know where their skills are at, and then we can add on and challenge them with that routine that we've created around the water.
Yeah, it's interesting. And those skills you just mentioned, we're learning more and more that those are, skills that are equally important for adults, learning through doing and stuff like that. So it's quite interesting. And I guess it gives them a foundational set of skills that set them up for the rest of their life, which is fantastic. Now, you guys are in Canada. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And is that your location, or your only location, or do you have plans to expand, or like where are you guys going next?
We do, yeah. So our goal is to be an Ottawa-wide company and serving the whole city. Right now, we're in the West End in Canada, and this is our first location. We've been open for, like I said, a little over a year. We opened in January 2020. So what a wild ride it has been since then. So yeah, we definitely do want to expand and be in the East End and down in southwards towards Barrhaven, and just to serve the whole city. Really, we are really proud of this concept that we've created, and we're very different from other methods of swimming lessons, and we really want to change the industry.
Sounds good. Talk to me a little bit about what you just said in terms of opening January 2020, 3 months before like lockdown really happened. Like things were happening at that point. So you open a business 3 months before a pandemic. You operate throughout the pandemic and stuff like that. So the people that had come to you, they were coming to you. What are you communicating to them in terms of safe water behaviors, or what is your philosophy around what you are asking them or telling them or communicating them to stay safe around the water, until they can come back to see you guys?
Yeah. One thing that we've really pushed and established in all of our lessons through the routines is creating, like I said, those safe routines. The safe routines around the water, I think, are the most important thing to me. Creating a safe routine means when you're going to the pool, you're going to talk with your child about what you're doing, what it's going to be like, what they can expect, so that the kids kind of get an idea of how they should be behaving around the water, and the parents can teach them that. And then creating a routine such as like when you approach the pool, when you approach a body of water, the beach or whatever. I know that the Red Cross uses like a stop, look, and listen type thing, and we have a very similar routine. So you're stopping, you're looking and making sure that, everything is safe. You're looking to make sure that your adult is around, and you're waiting for instruction to approach the water. So, and then you're creating a routine with how to get in the water. Kids Can Swim, we use a very specific technique of teaching our children and our babies to get in and out of the water. It's very simple. All parents can use it around a pool. Elbow, elbow, knee, knee, climb out of the water. I think for kids who can't swim, a big part of our safety week, we run a safety week every month, and it is learning how to get in and out of the water and navigating yourself to the side of the pool, climbing to a ladder or a safe spot, or using your elbow, knee, knee, and climbing out. And again, that like stopping before you get in the water or approach the water, and creating that routine. And parents can make it really fun for kids. Like, what are you missing? What do you have? Like listing all the things that you need to be around the water. You're adult. You need your eyes. You need your listening ears. All of these things. And also, if anything were to ever happen, like children run up to the edge of the water, if you've created that routine already, then it saves the parent a little bit of time to catch up to the swimmer, and the kids know, when I get to the water, to the edge of the water, I have a couple things that I need to do. I need to look for my adult. I need to have my eyes open. I need to have my listening ears open. And it saves everyone a little bit of time too, and it lets the kids, again, establish that routine, which I think is really, really important.
Yeah, it's an intuitive process that makes a lot of sense. In our previous episodes, when we've talked with other providers and other schools, I mean, they a couple of key points that came out: drowning is silent, happens in 30 seconds or less. Comes, oftentimes when accidents happen is because the adults aren't paying attention. So what messaging do you have? Because that process you just spoke about is largely swimmer based.
Mm-hmm.
What process do you have for those that are supervising the swimmers, like, or what recommendations do you have for those that are supervising the swimmers, like parents or guardians or whatever?
Yeah, I'd say always stay within arm's reach. That is a general rule, and I think sometimes people underestimate that when their swimmers are in wearing life-saving devices, life jackets, puddle jumpers, things like that. It really doesn't make a difference, especially for the little ones who don't have that equilibrium in the water yet. When you're wearing those devices, it can be very easy to tip over and difficult to get yourself back up if you don't have that. Always staying within arm's reach. That is like every single lifeguard will tell you that, and I know that they've said this, like other aquatic specialists have said this on your show before, that like you cannot underestimate staying within arm's reach, because like you said, it happens so quickly. Even swimmers on the side of the pool, if they can touch, or they're getting towards the deeper end and they're on their tippy toes, that like slipping under off the wall can happen so quickly. So staying within arm's reach is number one. And I think not being distracted, like for example, around like your personal pools, home pools, there does need to be a designated person who is looking out for the swimmers and who knows what to look for. I think a really important part of this series that you're doing is letting people know that it can happen that quickly. And I think that is something that needs to be known for everyone. Like 30 seconds, you turn your back, and it can happen that quickly. So you need to be so diligent.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair enough. And I guess one of the things I would like to get out from each episode in your own words, and regardless of whether or not it's repetitive, doesn't matter, because if the audience needs to hear this 1,000 times, and they need to hear it 1,000 times. But give me a bullet point list. And you kind of already did, but just break it down even more simple. 3 or 4 things to absolutely pay attention to around the pool, and then 3 or 4 things to absolutely pay attention to when you're out by a lake or open water source or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Go make the list bigger if you want to as well.
Okay. So firstly, like I said, it's on the parents to create a safe routine. What can we expect around being around the water? What do we need to look out for? Educating your swimmers. So, staying where mom and dad can see you, and mom and dad need to stay where kids can see them within arm's reach, like I said. And being aware, teaching your kids about all the things about the pool. So like or the like buoy lines, busy areas, things like that. Your kids are not too young to learn about all areas of the pool, about water depth, and not to scare them, but just to say like this area is deeper, this area is shallower, this is where you can go, this is where you can't go. Like, I don't think that kids are too young, like from 3 years old onwards. I don't think that they're too young to understand learning how to be safe. So educating your swimmers, so staying with harm, creating a routine, educating your swimmers, and then I think obviously swimming lessons. I know that we can't do that right now, but there are like many resources online, again, about how to teach your swimmers. If you can't be in a place, or your swimmers aren't at a place yet where they can swim themselves, you should be wearing a life jacket, obviously, around especially open bodies of water, or puddle jumpers, anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. And when it comes down to what you said about swimming lessons, I'm assuming that that's a general plea. It doesn't matter where you are, just find the swimming lessons, right? And to your point and what you were saying, I mean, from a WHO standpoint, the recommendations are, like, first thing, fence the pool, and the second line of defense against drowning is swimming lessons, right? And this leads me into a question that I've been asking everybody, and they have their own version of the answer. But when I started this series, I started it under the premise of trying to get a question answered, and that question was, do we take water safety for granted? And let me unpack that a little bit. So, because you guys folks like you that run schools that do such a great job of providing these amazing services to the public, right? Governments, decision makers don't usually pay attention to this stuff. And why would they? Because, there's private businesses that are doing a great job doing this, right? And the why would they is the erroneous part. Because if you weren't there, if folks like you weren't there, if Kids Can't Swim weren't there, right? Who would stand in and make sure that we had the water safe education? Right. And now, in the middle of a pandemic where this is not being prioritized, we saw a spike in drownings in 2020. That trend is likely to continue in 2021. Right. And it's part of the emphasis, and part of the point of getting this show out is so people get more information. Like, look out for each other when you go out to the beach, have your water watcher, how your plan like you coined, and so on and so forth. All that to said, bringing it right back full circle, my question is, in this country, do we take water safety for granted?
I don't think that we do. I think across the country, like the national programs have addressed the problem and done a really good job at educating people now. But one thing that really stuck with me was you had a woman on from the Life Saving Society, and I'm sorry that I'm blanking on her name, but Barb, yeah. She, her point about, community was, I think, really stuck out to me. I think that with a lack of access to swimming lessons, actions like this, like education and swim schools, and everyone who provides aquatic safety, I think it is part of our responsibility to educate people on how they can support their own families and their communities. When you're at a beach, you're not the only one on the beach. We're all, I think, as like people who want to be safer on the water, and educators and parents, we're all looking out for like kids all the time. I know when I'm on the beach, I don't have any kids, but I'm always like scanning and guarding. And I think like just getting this messaging out of like, what can you do can protect the community. And I think that as a community member, it's important to you have a responsibility to look out for your community, I think, and that doesn't exclude anyone. And I really like that I really like that point that she made, because of the lack of access to swimming lessons, that we all need to be putting out this messaging, and then being diligent when we are in those spaces and looking out for other people.
Yeah, absolutely fair. And like that I'm hoping that, I mean, it sounds like you're referring to the drowning prevention panel discussion that we ran. And hopefully, like, you found some value in that. And, like, the public in general as well. I mean, like, that community piece is is pretty important. So coming back to the swim school, you talked a little bit about it. What are you guys doing to engage your community, whether it's from an action point of view or just awareness and information point of view?
Yeah, a couple things for us is that we start early. Like in our babies program, we do teach. Obviously, I want to preface by saying you cannot put the onus of self-safety and self-rescue on a baby at all.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's not what I'm saying at all. But you can teach them, go through the routine with them. An early start in swimming lessons. Our babies are, a year old, and we're getting their parents to work with them through falling in the water, turning around, swimming back to the wall, that basic thing that you need. And eventually practicing it every week. Like I said, that routine and consistency that we have in our program, that gets drilled in, and they remember those things. And eventually within a couple of weeks, a year-old baby, 8-month-old your baby can climb out of the pool with the support of their parent. Not every swimmer. I mean, they still, again, need to be supported, but I think an early start is very important. And just to teach them, like near the water's edge, around the pool, like reaching for mom, reaching for dad, staying close. And then in our program, we actually don't use flotation devices in our lessons because our pools are purpose built. All of our kids can stand up in them. So it gives them that confidence to swim. So it may sound counterintuitive to not use flotation devices, but then they're actually developing their skills rather than relying on those things. I've heard parents say before, like, I put them in a puddle jumper for a summer and now they won't swim without it. They don't have the confidence to be without it. And that is so dangerous. If a swimmer were to fall into the pool or into the lake and they don't have that confidence and they're so overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, I don't have my puddle jumper or whatever, that can really prevent a swimmer from using their knowledge that they have to get to the side and climb out. So a big part of our program is we don't use flotation devices. We teach the swimmers to have the confidence, to gain the confidence to be comfortable in the water independently and develop their skills that way. And again, when you're on boats and when you're around the beach and all these other things, you should be wearing life-saving devices. But we want to develop that confidence in our swimmers. And then creating our safe routines. So we have our elbow, knee that we teach babies right from our B2 level, which is 6 months old, how to climb out of the water. And then in our week 3 of our program, we do a life-saving week, or safety week. And it's all throughout all the levels. It's kind of more real life scenarios. So for our little ones, like 4 years old, we take them over to the bigger pool where they can't touch. And we get them to fall in, turn around with the support of an instructor, and climb out. So like those real life things. And as they get older, we teach them partner rescues, reaching, pulling, throwing, things like that, how to rescue someone else. And we also teach the little ones how to call for help. So every week we practice with them. What do you say, when you need help? And you'll hear everyone on safety week, help, 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 across the pool, because we want to encourage the children, again, to have that confidence to reach out and save themselves.
That's fantastic. That's a very, you have water safety embedded in every aspect of that curriculum. It's really good.
Yeah. I'm very proud of it, for sure.
So I want to come back to that in a sec, but I wanted to go back to one thing you just mentioned there about the confidence or lack thereof when a kid or young swimmer is brought up on a flotation device. First, I want to, it's important for me to make this clear, like a puddle jumper is not a life-saving device, right? So, and I think oftentimes parents, like that attention piece you mentioned before, the puddle jumper is a way to mitigate attention. So, I can put them in a puddle jumper, and if I turn around for 3 minutes or whatever, they'll be okay. That's the mistake. That's where the accidents happen, right? And that's one of the things I wanted to point out, and so on and so forth. I don't know. Did you have anything else you wanted to add on that?
No, I don't think so. I think that I like I said, at first when I came into this program and started learning it, I was like, not using flotation devices. Well, that doesn't make sense. But now I'm realizing that confidence can add to safety so much. Confidence is a huge part of safety. They go hand in hand to me now.
Fair enough. And then circling back around to the program, like what was the genesis of the program? Like who developed it? Like where does it come from?
Yeah, so the model is Australian based. There's a lot of swim schools that are similar to us in Australia, and the model is very different from here in Canada, and that's why we're so different. We're based on that model, and it goes along with everything about our business. The monthly registration and the ongoing assessments, the monthly assessments, things like that. It's very different from here in Canada, and I find it much more efficient, to be honest. The monthly assessments allow us to meet swimmers where they're at. I know sometimes sessions can go up to 12 weeks sometimes, with maybe one progress report in the middle. And I find through personal experience teaching those programs, you have swimmers who are way past the level that you've taught them, and they pick it up very quickly, but they're in the program for 8 more weeks. And they're bored, and there's really no way to change it up once the session is created. So for us, the monthly assessments allow us to meet the swimmers where they're at. They're not being held back, and they're being challenged just enough. That was a really big part for me, the monthly assessments.
Yeah, fair enough. Sounds good. I mean, you shared a lot of really potent information on your school and how the links behind or between what you guys do and the water safety out in the real world. So I thank you for doing that. And as we go to wrap this up, I just want some final words, right? If you have some final thoughts in terms of what do you want to leave people, like what message do you want them to take away in terms of going into a summer where we know beaches are likely to be crowded because people have been stuck indoors for the last year. And, as soon as summer pools open, people are going to flock there. We know there's going to be crowds. We know there's going to be chaos and mayhem everywhere. Final thoughts on what should people pay attention to? What do they need to look out to? And like I said, if look out for, excuse me, and if it's repetitive, that's fine, because if people need to hear it, they need to hear it.
Yeah, I think that people need to, like you said, crowded beaches need to be aware of where they are. I think one thing that I said when I was explaining how we include safety in our babies program is that you can't at all put the onus of being safe on your children. You can teach them and you can educate them, and they may understand it very well, but you are responsible for them. And that goes along with being an adult near the water around kids. I think being diligent is the most important part. Being aware of those high risk areas, the drop offs, things like that. So yeah, being diligent, not putting the onus on the swimmers. It is all on the parents. It is 100% on us as adults and water safety people to look out for our communities whenever we're at a beach. I think it's everyone's responsibility to make sure that the kids are safe. And again, I think creating those safe routines around the water will really, as you go to the beach, if you go to the beach once a week or whatever, or go to the pool every evening in your backyard, create that routine, whatever that looks like for you. I know like the stop, look, and listen is a great tool. I think it's super simple. You stop, you look for, your parent, your adult, whatever, and you're listening for instructions when you can go in the water. So creating safe routines, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. That's fantastic. Well, I thank you for sharing your time with us today. Really appreciate it, and really appreciate, like your passion and desire to share, some information behind this important subject. Are you guys currently open, or are you guys closed with COVID restrictions?
We are closed right now in Ottawa, but we're looking to a tentative June 3rd opening date. So we're gearing up for that, and we're so excited to get back to our community. Yeah, I'm really
Brilliant.
excited.
Yeah, well, I'm sure your community is going to be excited to see you guys as well. So I know like there's high demand right now for, the parents that are aware of the risks around water safety to get their kids in. So that should be great. And again, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it. Look forward to connecting again in the future, and all the best with Kids Can Swim.
Thank you, Jason. You too. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks for watching. I hope you check us out. Anything that you need, we've got it at oceanjunction.com.